So I was wrong about the Blackline foam cannon. A few days ago, I released a review on the foam cannon and the Blackline towels, and one of the viewers pointed out that I wasn't taking the mixed ratio of the foam cannon into account when I was doing the test. Now, in my defense, all I wanted to do was really show you, hey, this is the output when you have a given amount of soap and a given amount of water, like a specific mixture, let's just say. However, he pointed out, this commenter pointed out that the Quiver and MJJC foam cannons, they tend to use a lot more of the mix inside, and so they always tend to produce better foam. So what I did, I went back home, or I actually pulled out my notebook, because I actually test the foam cannons with my setups to know what the mix ratio is. Now, in case you don't know, if you're new to foam cannons, what the ratio is, all right, so when you have your input here from your pressure washer, you have a specific amount of water coming through here and a specific amount of water or liquid being drawn from your canister. And then you have your output. So let's just say you have 100 ml of mix coming out of your the bottom here, your holding tank, let's just say, your canister, and you have 1,000 ml being pushed through here at the same time. You have a total output of 1,100 ml. So that would be a 10-to-1 mix ratio. So when I pulled out my notebook and everything and I looked at the mix ratio, okay, so the Quiver foam cannon that you see is 8.17 to 1. Now what that means is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in my standard 15-to-1 mix ratio, just like I did in the last video, which means in 30 ounces of water, I'm going to add 2 ounces or 60 ml of product. This is where it gets a little bit different, because the Rain Kovo foam cannon that you saw, it didn't perform quite as good as the Quiver and MJJC. Okay, that one mixes at 9.3 to 1. So at 9.3 to 1, that's a 14% difference, or roughly a 14% difference over that Quiver foam cannon. And so what that means is that I need to put 68.5 milliliters of soap into 30 ounces of water. So as you see right here, I'm going to be putting in roughly 68. I get just under 10 ml in the little one. I'm putting 68, or as close to 68.5 milliliters of soap into the foam cannon. So now we get to the Final Details foam cannon. So the Final Details mixes, it uses more water and mixes less out of the container with the 1.1 orifice that I was using. Everything I've been testing with is a 1.1 with my Ego pressure washer, okay? That mixes at 9.7 to 1. So way higher. That's a 20% difference from that 8.17 that the Quiver mixes at, which means that I have to put in an extra 12 milliliters of soap, or a total of 72 milliliters. And you could see right here, I'm putting in, or in this photo, I'm adding the 60 ml, the 2 ounces of product, and an extra 12, or as close as I could figure to 12 extra milliliters into the Final Details foam cannon. So that leads me to the Blackline foam cannon. Now, this is where it gets really weird, because in the original video, and I'll link that below again, and I'll actually put down a time code so that you know like where to look if you want to. But in the original video, I did mention that it seems to use a lot more product out of the foam cannon. And well, my testing showed that. In fact, it wasn't just 8 to 1 like in the Quiver, or 9 to 1 like in the other ones, or even 10 to 1. It's 6 to 1, meaning for every 100 milliliters I sucked out of here, I only put in 600 milliliters for a total of 700 ml output. So I was actually, yes, I was going through a lot more product. Now what that means though is that mix ratio means that's only 75. I need to reduce the amount of soap I put in here by 25% over like the Quiver foam cannon, we'll call that our baseline test. Okay, so as you can see in this photo, I'm only adding about 45 milliliters, because 45 ml is 75%, or 25% less than the 60 ml. All right, so the first foam cannon in our test is going to be the Quiver foam cannon. And now as you can see, it puts out spectacular foam on the car, really thick shaving cream suds. And here's a little slow motion clip for you of just like it going on there. And I think you can agree that the Quiver or MJJC lineup is just a spectacular professional grade, professional level foam cannon that just mixes really, really well. All right, so the next foam cannon in our testing is going to be, in this one anyway, is going to be the Raincovo. Now remember, I had to add an extra about 8.5 milliliters of soap to this one to equal the amount of, I guess, output or panel impact ratio. And you could do that search term on your own how to figure that out. But panel impact ratio on the Raincovo, to equal the Quiver there, I had to add extra soap. And as you could see now, actually the output on the Raincovo did improve significantly, I think, over the original test. It actually produces some pretty nice foam. And again, you could see, you know, the really nice foam going on, and it dwells a little bit. And again, you know, the nice slow-mo shot for you there. And so anyway, that's what the Raincovo puts out for me, again, using the 1.1 orifice. Okay, now we get into the final details foam cannon, and because, as I mentioned earlier, I have to put an extra 12 milliliters of soap in because this is really stingy pulling it out of the bottle. And it's so stingy, again, 72 milliliters or an extra 12 ml of product. This one, I needed to add an extra 20% over what I would put in the MJJC foam cannons. However, as you could see, the output still isn't quite up to par with the other ones. However, it is pretty good. It's actually not bad. It's sticking there, and it does become a little bit runny fairly quickly. But as you can see in this slow motion, it performs pretty good. And if you were going around a car, I would say that, you know, if you were using full, you always just use full on the mix ratio, that it actually goes on pretty good. And it's going to offer, even on a ceramic coated surface, some pretty good dwell time. All right, now we get into the Blackline foam cannon. So in my original video, you know, I was like, hey, this is kind of watery, but it kind of dwelled, you know, whatever it is. But again, this one mixes at 6:1, so I have to only add 75% of the soap as I do with our baseline, our Quiver foam cannon. And so only 45 ml on here. And as you could see in the video here, it really doesn't produce any foam going on. It just kind of produces runny, I guess we'll just call it runny, soapy water. I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse. In fact, most factory foam cannons that come with these pressure washers, they all produce way, way worse foam than the Blackline. But again, this is not even close, in my opinion, watching the video, or in fact, in person anyway. As you could see, it's really not even close. And, you know, once you actually see just how quickly it starts running off the panel, you can definitely tell that it's not even close to being on par with the other ones. Okay, guys, so again, I tested 4 foam cannons against each other. You know, to highlight, I thought the Blackline at $84. I thought it would, you know, based on the media that I've always seen, that it would produce way better. But now I'm going to show you again, just side by side, picture in picture right here, all 4 foam cannons, how they go on, and you could judge for yourself, you know, what they look like. And, you know, I think you could see that the MJJC or the Quiver produces obviously the best foam output out of all 4, and then followed by the Raincovo, and then again followed by the Final Details, and then finally the Blackline Car Care. It's really no contest. The Blackline, again, performed way worse than the other ones. So there you have it, guys. I apologize. I didn't create an accurate test for you. I just said, hey, let me put all the same mix in the foam cannons and let's see what we get. But in reality, it's really all about the mix ratio. And thanks to a viewer for pointing that out. But even leveling that playing field, the Raincovo and the Final Details actually started to perform better, and the Blackline actually performed worse. In fact, I said do not buy in my original video, and I'm going to say that yet again. I definitely after this, I would not buy it. So anyway, guys, I apologize. From going forward from now on, I'm going to make sure that I put, I do mix ratios for you guys so I could accurately show you. So I apologize, and hopefully you found this video a little bit informative. And if you did, hit that like, hit that subscribe. And until the next one, thanks for watching.